tutorial, excuse me, for the next 30 minutes. In today's tutorial, we will be discussing low pass filters and how to transform your audio to give it that underwater effect, to transition between some music tracks, and just show you how to experiment and have some fun with some audio effects in Premiere Pro. Before we get started, make sure that if you're watching and you follow along, download the resources below, click the link in the description so that you can follow along at home and try your hand at some of these effects that we'll be working on today. I have a couple different examples in the project file itself. So if we don't get time to do example 2 and 3, please feel free to work on those on your own when you have the time to do so. With that being said, let's just hop right into Premiere Pro. And again, let's get this party started and do some editing. So we are going to hop into Premiere right now. And I've created a couple different examples, as I mentioned, but I really just want to focus on the first one because I think it's the most robust and there's a bit of variety in terms of how I'm using this low pass filter. And before we get started, I just want to basically go over what a low pass filter does. And essentially what the low pass filter does in the audio effects is it removes any high frequencies. So it makes the audio that you're using feel and sound really muffled. So it can create a really unique effect when we're trying to create or imitate like the sound of water or being underwater, or we just want to use it in a more unique way. So we're going to hop in here. If you're following along with us at home, I just want you to open up challenge number 2, which is the low pass filters. And I wrote example 3 best. That's the one that we are going to be starting on. So you'll see over here my project panel, I have everything organized and laid out by sequences, footage, music, sound effects. And then you'll notice down here, stock audio media. This is a stock music track that I used for this video. And I pulled it straight from Premiere Pro. So I'm going to show you how to do that as well. So we're just going to start a new sequence. We're going to go in here. Command N will be the shortcut to do that. We're going to go into settings and just make sure that our frame size is 1920 by 1080. If we were formatting this for Instagram or TikTok, it would be the reverse. So 1080 by 1920, which gives us that 9 by 16 format. But for this, we're going to go 16 by 9, and we're going to call this challenge number 2. Okay. All right, so what I did here in this first challenge, I'm going to play it back so we can all watch it together, and you can see where that low pass filter is being used and how I'm implementing it on a couple different tracks. So let's just play it. Okay, so you can hear that the audio changes and it's not being adjusted by the volume parameters. So in no part of that transition between the tracks did I actually adjust the volume. All I'm using is the low pass filter. So what we're going to do first is we're going to take this track. It's called Traveling Across the World. If you wanted to find a different track, you'd go right in here to the audio panel, and you can go to where it says Browse. And you'll notice that there's tons of options here right in Premiere Pro. A lot of these are aggregated from Epidemic Sound, and some of them are here through Adobe Stock. So you can just kind of go through and find what you want. I'm going to just search because I already have my track, Traveling the World, and it's the first track right here. So if I press play, you can hear that preview. And all you're going to do is you're just going to drag this file. So let's go into our editing panel. Oops. Our audio. Excuse me. Sometimes this goes a little crazy. So your windows might actually end up kind of being thrown off a little bit. So toggle this so we can actually bring up our project window, and we are going to go to our new sequence. Again, challenge number 2. Cannot type today. Okay, challenge number 2. We're going to take Traveling the World, and we're just going to drag this track in. Okay, and automatically you'll see over here in your project window, it has a cart next to it. And so it has saved that track right here in your project window. So very, very convenient and a great place to start. So if I want to actually add this low pass filter to this track and then add on top of it, I'm going to go to the effects panel right here. And it's easier when you're in the audio layout. You can do this in the editing layout, and all those can be adjusted across the top. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to say low pass. And you'll notice if I just type low, it comes up under the filter and EQ window, and we are going to drag that onto this clip. Now, if I play this clip back without any adjustments to keyframing, which we discussed yesterday, you can hear that it's already actually made that effect sound a little bit like dampened and a little more muted, which is nice, but we don't want that to happen the entire length of the video. We just want it to happen in a specific place. So I'm going to reference my other video to see what I did here. And again, for the sake of time and showing you all the proper methods of using this low pass filter, I'm going to actually just copy this clip. I've already gone and like edited the in and out points, and maybe that's for another lesson. But this is just a GoPro clip. I like this clip because there's a bit of movement in the water, and I actually dunked the GoPro into the water, but it was an older GoPro and the audio didn't really sound that great. So I wanted to implement my own sounds as well. So I'm going to take this clip, copy it. If you're working at home, you'll actually find this clip in the project window under footage. So you'll see it's right here, labeled GoPro. We're going to copy that. Okay, we're going to go into our new project. I'm going to mute this track really quickly. Oops, and let's lock this. All right. And I'm just going to start to build this so we can start to really show this low pass filter. All right. And then this next clip I have is a clip from Iceland. I wanted to implement some more water in here so we can really hear what this low pass filter does. And so what I did is I slowed this clip down. So I'm going to copy this. This clip was shot at 60 frames per second. So I was able to slow the speed down by right-clicking speed and changing the speed to 40. And so that's what's nice there, is that it actually slows the clip down to sort of match this like nice muted low pass filter that we put on our audio. So we're going to copy this. And if I solo this track, we don't actually hear anything because I believe that clip was pretty low to begin with. I'm going to copy this. We are going to bring that right next to our GoPro clip. Again, I'm going to lock this so that we can get everything set the way we want. All right. And then our third clip here, we're just going to add. This is a drone clip from a volcano in Iceland, just an additional clip to add on the end, just so we kind of extend where we're going here. All right. So now that we have these clips together, I want to make sure that I start with the music track being really high, and then I keyframe this low pass filter in. And I'm going to show you how to do that right here. So if I play this back, you can hear that it is really muffled, right? So it's not exactly what we want. So what we're going to do, I think I actually brought this clip in only like a minute in. So let me just come in here. I'm going to change my time code. This is actually where we want these clips to start. Again, I had already done this previously, but I want to make sure I'm editing live here for you so that we can kind of work on this together. All right, so let's go and click our music track. And what we're going to do is we are going to open up our effect controls panel. And because I've added a low pass filter, you'll notice that there's a low pass effect already in place here. So you can toggle that effect on and off. Now, when I toggle it on and off, you can hear the difference in that filter. But what I want to do is I want to actually keyframe that to have it start where the music is already without the filter and then fade itself in to sound really muffled and kind of like it's underwater at the same time that our subject here falls under the water. So I'm going to toggle this back on. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a keyframe here. And this little toggle here has a cutoff button. And if you missed yesterday's lesson, we went over keyframing in some more rudimentary lessons. So it might be helpful to watch that. But all we're going to do is toggle this on, toggle this animation. And this is basically telling us we're going to start at one point, we're going to end at another. So what I want to do is I want to drag this all the way up. And that's essentially telling me I don't want any low pass filter to start. And I'm going to drag until we're maybe seeing our subject fall underwater. So maybe right about there is when we actually want to hear that low pass come in. So we're going to press keyframe again, and we're going to drag this back down. And now what you'll notice is that we have this really nice keyframe happening. And if we play that back, very subtle, but you can hear a really nice difference that it almost sounds like he's now falling underwater. And if we wanted to make that even more extreme, we would just drag this all the way down, and now it's going to sound even more extreme and more muffled than it was previously. So before we keep going, I just want to welcome those to the chat that are joining us today. And I really want to just answer a few questions as we continue moving right along here. Laura asked, where is the volcano from this video? The volcano was in Iceland. It's called Fagradalsfjall. It took me a really long time to learn how to say that word, but it has since gone dormant. So we were there at the perfect time and felt very fortunate to be able to get some of those drone clips. And yes, yep, Laura, you already answered my questions, so I jumped to conclusions there. But hello, Zach, Sam, Ted, welcome everyone to the chat. Again, if you're joining us, please ask some questions and make sure to click those source files in the link in the description to follow along with what we're doing here today. All righty, so let's go back. Let's hop back into our project here because there is a lot that I want to get to, and I know I do not want to run out of time today. So we're just going to save this. And let's go back here. And what I also did is I added, on top of that music track, I added some sound effects. And with water, it's very easy to implement some sound design to just give it that extra punch. So I source a lot of my sound effects from Epidemic Sound. There's plenty of other sites, the Music Bed, artlist.io. There's a ton of places for that. But in my opinion, I really like Epidemic Sound. So if you go into your source, your project window here, I've included a lot of different sound effects specifically for this first example. And I believe, what is this one? Indoor splash. So I couldn't really find a splash that sounded realistic for an outdoor splash. So I found an indoor splash that sounds a little bit like this. Maybe a little too big of a splash, but I think for this example in this tutorial, it could work really well. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take this clip and we are going to drag that clip under our music. So I for in point, O for out point if you're using a Mac. All right, and we're just going to drag this under. Let's mute our music here and let's see exactly where he falls. So I'm thinking maybe the sound comes in a little early, so we're going to drag this out a little bit more. Okay, and now if we play it back, definitely sounds like water, but it sounds too much like water and it sounds very out of place. So another reason I like to use low pass filters is it sort of hides some of the sound design and like cleans it up in a way, little hack. And it doesn't always have to be used for water. But in this case, we're going to throw another low pass filter on this on this sound effect. So we're going to go back into our effects here to the left, low pass, drag that on. And just like we did before, I think I only want to hear a low pass on this. I don't want it to fade in and out because it's just gonna, I think it's already sounding like water. So we just need it to be a low pass filter. We go into our effects controls. Again, we have our low pass selected on and off, and we have our cutoff. And that cutoff looks like maybe we're not gonna hear anything. So let's just solo this. Let's play it back. That sounds pretty cool. All right, let's see. Okay, so the more we move and adjust this filter here, let's see, we're in low pass. We play this back. That sounds really, really cool. So now if we take solo off and we hear this clip together, we now have two low pass effects on our music track and on our sound effects track, which is that splash of water, which I think will create a more seamless experience here because we didn't actually record the audio. So let's just play that back real quick. And it looks like maybe I'm going to just drag the sound effects over because it seems like it came in a little bit late. And the goal is to time the keyframes from this music track to the sound design. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually drag these keyframes from my music, and I'm just going to highlight them and just drag them over a little bit. There we go. And now you're actually hearing the music track fade into this low pass filter as the water splashes and also fades into this filter, which I just really like. I think it it creates for a really interesting and engaging way to, watch and almost like hear what underwater audio would sound like if you didn't record it. Okay. Any other questions in the chat, please keep on throwing them my way. I know we have about 10 minutes left here in this tutorial. Again, I really want to get through this for everyone who's watching. Okay, so the next clip we're going to go to is this waterfall clip, again from Iceland. And what you'll notice is, like I said, I slowed this clip down because I think that with that low pass filter underneath the visuals, having a clip that's slower makes it feel a little bit more cinematic. And in this case, that's what I was going for. And I liked that the music track, if we play back our example here, if I click this music track, you'll see that I added another keyframe here towards the end, right at the point that the music then picks up again. So the low pass acts as a transitional point to add an effect and then bring it back up when you want maybe like the beat to drop a little bit more, or you want to add some more energy to the tail end. And so what I did here, and what we're going to do in this clip, is we're going to play this. And you can hear the bass coming in, and I want that music track to come back into its normal effect and get rid of that low pass. So we're going to come back into the track. We're going to come right in here. We're going to add our keyframe, and we're going to move this up a little bit until we hear that bass. And right now, it sounds like it's right around here. We're going to add another keyframe, and we're going to drag our low pass all the way up. And visually, you will see it represented here in your effect controls panel. And let's just play that. It's maybe a little bit early, so I'm going to drag this up a little bit more. Now we're a little late. So you just kind of play around with this and adjust what is feeling right to you. Again, I've been doing this for a long time, so I kind of know the little points I'm trying to hit. Cool. Very, very cool. And you'll notice another little thing I did here is I changed my speed at the same time that that filter changed. So I'm now going from 40%, and I did that by speed ramping. So I turned this clip. If you right click the clip and you go to clip keyframes, there's these options here at the bottom: time remapping and speed. This is how you add points like keyframes onto this clip to adjust the speed. And you know what, for the sake of this, we'll just show you how to do it. So let's pull this down back to 100. Whoops. Okay. And if I press P on my keyboard on a Mac, that's a shortcut, you can add these points. And the points allow you to then speed ramp one part of the clip from another. And so it's a nice way to change that speed, especially to, contrast the low pass filter that we have going on underneath it as well. So in just a few simple effect controls, we haven't even adjusted the volume. We haven't adjusted any sort of in and out points with opacity. It's just low pass. And it's actually a filter that I rely on a lot for my travel films and for some client work, because I think it just hides maybe some of the imperfections of a sound effect that may not necessarily work for the clip. And it just creates a really interesting environment if you want that underwater vibe. So, and Laura, to answer the question that you have here, Laura was asking what the keyboard shortcut for cutting footage in two while having the blue guide over it. Cutting it in two, I believe if you're asking for it, it's just Command K. That will split your clip. If you're talking about basically speed ramping, that's probably for a different tutorial. I think there's some more details that we could go into for that, but hopefully I can come back on here again and go over more details of speed ramping. But you can look down here and those clips have keyframes as well. And again, time remapping and speed. And that will allow you to create different speeds in your clip, the same way that you would volume in your audio. All right, so with a couple minutes left here, I'm just going to hop over to my editing window. And I just want to play one other example here. And let's go to example one. And this one's kind of a little bit different. It's not water-based, although one clip is another waterfall. But I thought it was an interesting way to show how I sometimes transition the music and incorporate some voiceover or dialogue using this low pass filter. So I'm just going to play this back. right from about here.
The captain has turned on the seatbelt light. Please take your seat and fasten your seatbelts. Thank you. Thank you and enjoy your flight.
So again, I like to use them because I think they tone down your audio for you to add different layers of other tracks on it. So it could be voiceover track, and it's a unique way to do this. So the only elements I used to create this here is another music track. So it's called Arcade Romance. This one was sourced from Epidemic Sound. I couldn't actually find it here in Premiere Pro. Again, there are tons of options to use right from Premiere, but Epidemic Sound, if you have an account, they have great options for you. So I used that because I liked where kind of the bass was coming in, and I thought it'd be a really great example to highlight that low pass again. So if I'm going to click on our audio, we're going to go to Effect Controls, and you can see what I did here. Same exact sort of routine. You take your low pass. So I'm going to remove it just so we can kind of do it here live. Okay, let's just remove low pass. All right, and now that's the music. We don't have anything on it. I'm going to go into my effects down below. I'm going to drag my low pass back on here. And for some reason, it looked like it copied both of them. All right. And again, when you put the low pass on it, it will automatically set itself to, I think, like somewhere in the middle. So I want to actually drag this up because I don't want the low pass on it just yet. I want to fade it once I bring this clip in. So my window up here, I'm going to come in here. I'm going to add my keyframe, and I'm going to go a few frames to about here. And then we're going to drag this down again to visually represent that we're changing this effect from one point to another. All right, and we'll play that.
The captain has turned on the seatbelt light.
And I actually want to go a little bit lower so that the voiceover that I have, this like sound effects of a flight attendant, is more audible, so you can hear it a little bit better. Okay, so we're going to come in here. Again, plus on the keyboard, minus will zoom into these keyframes, so you can sort of adjust everything accordingly. And then these toggles will go from keyframe to keyframe. And I'm just going to pull this down a little bit more. I'm going to actually highlight these, and I'm going to go in and ease in. So this will give me that nice Bezier curve, so it's not so abrupt.
The captain has turned on the seatbelt light.
Cool.
Please take your seat and fasten your seatbelts. Thank you. Thank you and enjoy your flight.
Okay, and right after thank you and enjoy your flight, that's when I want to bring that the filter out of it, right? I want to come out of low pass. I want to add all that bass back in. I want to add the high frequencies back in. So I'm going to come in here, click on my clip, make sure you're clicked on it. I'm going to zoom myself in, and I'm going to press keyframe, and I'm going to go a couple frames. Let's go to somewhere about here. And then I'm going to drag this all the way back up.
Thank you and enjoy your flight.
And now you can, I mean, I was getting into it a little bit. You can imagine a really cool montage. You can imagine some travel scenes, all with the help of this low pass filter, doing different things than it is usually intended to do. Now, if you go the other way, there's the high pass frequency and a high pass filter. And essentially what that does is it removes all of the low frequencies and the low bass. So you can kind of play around with those, start throwing some music in, start throwing some audio tracks in. And just, I really enjoy sound design. I think it's a very overlooked art of creating videos, and it is equally important, if not more important, than the visuals themselves. So many people are, I think, used to just watching visuals and not really paying attention to the audio. So the little details like this low pass filter will really help to just amp up those films a little bit. So we have 1 minute left here as we wrap up. Thank you, Ted and Sam and the whole gang. Thank you to everyone who joined us on this brief tutorial today into low pass filter land. It's something that clearly I'm very passionate about. We definitely want to see you post more of your work in the Creative Cloud community for video. It's an amazing community, and we love learning from other creatives as well, and just want this to be a useful experience for you. There's a ton of other resources down below in the description for Discords, communities, way more videos, and just other programs that you can download. And so just make sure to check out those links below and continue to learn in Creative Cloud programs, because they make your life very, very easy, and they're amazing programs. So especially Adobe Premiere Pro. That being said, I hope you learned something today. I get very excited and fired up teaching Premiere Pro, and specifically tutorials like this. And stay tuned. Tomorrow, we will see you in another tutorial. Take care, everyone.